The court is supposed to be a place of order where justice is upheld. However, some defendants choose to try their luck. Or even go the extra mile to reject their sentence.
A courtroom where justice rules, right? But what if that calm breaks into chaos? Defendants grabbing pens as weapons, explosive escapes, even deadly revenge right under the judge's nose.
These next defendants walked into the court alive, but are about to be carried out dead.
Brace yourself for the wildest, most jaw-dropping courtroom moments you'll ever see.
The courtroom was filled with tension on that fateful day in 2014. Siale Angelao, a 25-year-old member of the Tongan Crip gang, was on trial for gang-related racketeering.
It's 2014, and we're in a U.S. courtroom packed with tension. Kale Angela, a 25-year-old gang member, is on trial for racketeering and violent gang-related crimes.
This trial was the final chapter in a long legal saga that began with a 2010 indictment accusing 17 Tongan Crip members of assault, conspiracy, robbery, and weapons offenses.
Angela's journey through the legal system began in 2010, with the indictment of several gang members on charges like assault, conspiracy, robbery, and weapons offenses. Angela is the last of the defendants to face trial, and he's facing years in prison.
As the trial progressed, the atmosphere grew increasingly charged. Angelao sat beside his attorney, listening intently to the testimony of a witness. This witness, shackled and vulnerable, was recounting events that could determine Angelao's fate.
As the trial goes on, everyone is tense. Angela's lawyer sits close by. The witness is testifying against him, and the courtroom is silent. Then, in a flash, Angela grabs his lawyer's pen. Before anyone can react, he jumps out of his seat, rushing straight toward the witness stand. A voice yells, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" But Angela is determined to make his move. He raises the pen, aiming to attack the witness. The witness senses the danger and manages to dodge just in time.
No time to waste, the marshal fired 4 shots at close range, each one finding its mark. Angelao collapsed, fatally wounded. The courtroom erupted into chaos.
But that's not all. Angela falls over the front of the stand, and in that split second, a U.S. marshal nearby springs into action. With no time to waste, the marshal fires 4 shots, each hitting Angela at close range. Angela collapses, and chaos erupts. A woman in the gallery screams, breaking the stunned silence. Officers in suits rush to the front, and Angela's lawyer dives under the table for cover. Even the judge is escorted out as the entire room is thrown into confusion. Angela's last desperate act may not have saved him, but it left everyone in the courtroom shaken. He went in alive and left in a way no one expected.
Klaus Grabowski, a 44-year-old mechanic with a history of sexual offenses against minors, was on trial for the kidnapping and murder of 7-year-old Anna Bachmeier.
In the 1970s, in Lübeck, Germany, the public was outraged by the crime of Klaus Grabowski, a 44-year-old mechanic with a history of sexual offenses. Grabowski was on trial for the kidnapping and murder of 7-year-old Anna.
Grabowski had lured young Anna into his home under the pretense of playing with his cats. Once inside, he drugged her with a sedative before strangling her to death.
He had lured her to his home under the pretense of playing with his cats. Once she was inside, he drugged and strangled her, then placed her body in a cardboard box and dumped it in a canal. Anna's mother, Mary Ann, was heartbroken. She attended every single court session, her face showing the grief and anger that had consumed her since her daughter's death. During the trial, the defense argued for leniency, describing Grabowski as a troubled man, but Mary Ann wasn't having it.
The defense, on the other hand, attempted to paint Grabowski as a troubled man with a history of mental illness, hoping for a more lenient sentence. The courtroom was packed with spectators, journalists, and legal professionals.
On the day of the verdict, Mary Ann stood up from her seat. She reached into her handbag and pulled out a small pistol, a .22 caliber Beretta. Without hesitation, she aimed at Grabowski and fired 7 shots in quick succession. People screamed, ducking for cover as Grabowski fell to the ground. He was fatally wounded before he even had a chance to hear his fate. Mary Ann's actions sparked a national debate. Many saw her as a mother pushed beyond her limits, avenging her daughter in a moment of unbearable pain. Others argued that she had taken the law into her own hands, setting a dangerous example. But for Mary Ann, it was simply justice.
On a fateful Monday in July 2016, Larry Darnell Gordon was being escorted from his holding cell to a hearing at the Berrien County Courthouse in St. Joseph. He was in court to have a misdemeanor domestic violence charge dismissed in place of the 17 felony counts.
In July 2016, Larry Darnell Gordon was in court in St. Joseph, Michigan. He had a long criminal record, but this time, He was facing 17 felony charges, including criminal sexual conduct, kidnapping, and drug-related crimes. If convicted, Gordon was looking at life behind bars. As he was being led from his holding cell to the hearing, Gordon saw an opening. In a split second, he managed to grab a gun from a deputy, setting off a deadly chain of events. He shot and killed 2 veteran bailiffs, Joseph Zangaro, head of courthouse security, and Ronald Kenzel. Both men were respected in their community, and their deaths were a devastating blow.
Gordon, a 44-year-old man from Coloma, Michigan, was no stranger to the law. His extensive criminal record spanned a quarter of a century, including 2 federal convictions for possession of pipe bombs and a 2013 conviction for larceny. But it was his most recent charges that were even more horrifying.
But Gordon wasn't finished. He wounded a sheriff's deputy and a civilian in the arm. Chaos erupted in the courthouse as people scrambled for cover. In the midst of the panic, Gordon tried to take hostages, but officers quickly responded, shooting him and bringing his deadly escape attempt to an end. Afterward, the sheriff revealed that Gordon was handcuffed with his hands in front rather than behind his back, allowing him to seize the weapon. The courthouse, meant to be a place of justice, had become the scene of a shocking tragedy that day.
Brian Nichols. On March 11, 2005, Brian Nichols was at the Fulton County Courthouse in Atlanta, Georgia, facing trial for the rape, kidnapping, and assault of his former girlfriend.
March 11th, 2005, started as just another day at the Fulton County Courthouse in Atlanta, Georgia. But for Brian Nichols, who was facing charges of rape, kidnapping, and assault, it was an opportunity to escape. Nichols' first trial had ended in a mistrial, and he was waiting for a retrial. His friends and family had warned that he might try to escape, but no one was fully prepared for what was about to happen.
While changing clothes at the courthouse, Nichols overpowered Sheriff Deputy Cynthia Hall. He stole her .40 caliber Glock service pistol and brutally beat her into a coma. This was not Nichols' first attempt at smuggling weapons into the courtroom. He had previously tried to sneak shanks in his shoes.
As he was changing into civilian clothes, Nichols overpowered the deputy, escorting him, a woman named Cynthia Hall. He took her weapon, a .40 caliber Glock, and brutally attacked her, leaving her in a coma. With the weapon in hand, Nichols went on a rampage. He first encountered 2 case managers and an attorney, holding them at gunpoint before forcing them to take him to Judge Roland Barnes's chambers. Along the way, he fatally shot Judge Barnes and court reporter Julie Ann Brandow, before also killing Sergeant Hoyt Teasley as he fled the courthouse. Nichols' face was soon everywhere as authorities launched a massive manhunt, even appearing on America's Most Wanted. But Nichols wasn't done. He later killed ICE Special Agent David Wilhelm and stole his gun, badge, and truck. It seemed like nothing could stop him.
Nichols stole several vehicles during his escape, and his face quickly became known nationwide as he was featured on America's Most Wanted. A reward of $65,000 was announced for information leading to his arrest.
After a tense, violent day, Nichols finally took a woman named Ashley Smith hostage in her apartment. In a surprising turn of events, Smith kept him calm, reading from The Purpose-Driven Life and sharing her own struggles. In the end, her bravery led Nichols to surrender peacefully. For Nichols, though, there would be no escape from the justice he tried so hard to avoid. He was later sentenced to life without parole.
Michael Marin. Michael Marin's story is one of dramatic highs and devastating lows. A Yale-educated lawyer and successful financier, Marin was known for his adventurous spirit. He had scaled Mount Everest, piloted a Cessna 310, and even served as a Mormon missionary. But behind this facade of success, Marin harbored a dark secret that would lead to his shocking demise in court.
Michael Marin had lived a life of adventure and wealth. The Yale-educated lawyer and financier had scaled Mount Everest and flown a plane across continents. But in 2009, his finances collapsed, and he faced foreclosure on his $2.3 million mansion in Phoenix, Arizona. To avoid losing it, Marin hatched a plan. He set the house on fire and tried to collect the insurance money.
The prosecution argued that Marin's dramatic escape was a calculated move to divert suspicion. Marin's defense team tried to counter these claims, but the evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated and finally reached a verdict. As the jury foreman read the verdict,
"We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn in the above entitled action, upon our oaths, do find the defendant, Michael James Marin, guilty of arson of an occupied structure."
Authorities saw through his scheme, and he was charged with arson. His trial in 2012 drew a lot of attention. Marin faced up to 16 years if convicted, and as the trial proceeded, evidence mounted against him. On the day of the verdict, he sat in court, looking calm, until the jury read, "Guilty." In a shocking twist, Marin put his head in his hands, slipped something into his mouth, and took a drink. Minutes later, he collapsed, convulsing as the room watched in horror. Marin had swallowed cyanide, ending his life right there in the courtroom rather than face prison. His last act, as extreme as it was, left people in shock, showing how desperate he was to avoid facing the consequences of his actions.
Judge Joseph Bruzzese Jr., a respected figure known for his fairness and dedication, was making his way to the courthouse, unaware that danger was lurking just around the corner.
How many shots did you hear? Oh, many. At least 7 to 10.
On a Monday morning in Steubenville, Ohio, in 2017, Judge Joseph Bruzzese Jr. was walking into the courthouse when he was ambushed by Nathaniel Richmond. Richmond's son, Malik, had been convicted of rape in a high-profile case a few years earlier, and Richmond had held a grudge against the legal system ever since. As the judge walked along a narrow alley toward the entrance, Richmond approached, gun in hand. Without warning, he fired at the judge, hitting him. The judge, however, managed to draw his own weapon and fire back. Within seconds, a nearby probation officer joined in, ultimately killing Richmond on the spot.
He was flown to a Pittsburgh area hospital where Ohio Governor John Kasich later confirmed that the judge was expected to survive. The attack, however, was far from random. Judge Joseph Karabi, a colleague of Bruzzese, pointed out that the judge's parking spots were well known, making it clear that Bruzzese was an intended target.
Judge Bruzzese was rushed to the hospital and survived the attack. But this wasn't a random act of violence. It was a calculated act of revenge from a father who felt the justice system had wronged him. The small Ohio town was left stunned, a reminder of the dangers that even judges face.
Bradley was the lead investigator in the murder case and was in court observing the proceedings. As Paradiso attacked the judge, Detective Bradley sprang into action.
Detective Eric Bradley, who was in court observing the proceedings, immediately sprang into action. Without hesitation, he moved toward the judge and shot Paradiso, stopping the attack. The courtroom was thrown into chaos as people scrambled to understand what was happening. Judge Fox was quickly taken to the hospital, where she received treatment for her injuries. The incident left everyone in shock, questioning how Paradiso had managed to bring a weapon into the courtroom in the first place.
Sheriff's Deputy Dave Konechny stated, "The suspect made a move toward the judge with an unknown cutting instrument. A Lodi police officer immediately came forward, striking the suspect and stopping the assault."
Later, it was revealed that Paradiso's family had warned officials about his erratic behavior, but somehow, the warnings hadn't prevented this chilling attack. Paradiso's violent outburst showed just how unpredictable defendants can be, even when they're already on trial for serious crimes.
The courtroom in Rohini, Delhi, was supposed to be a place of justice and order. However, on 24 September 2021, it turned into a scene of chaos and violence.
On September 24, 2021, the Rohini courtroom in Delhi, India, became the scene of a gangland showdown. Jitender Gogi, a notorious gangster with a list of charges including murder and extortion, was in court for a hearing. Gogi was a feared figure, having climbed to the top of the criminal world, which also made him a target for rivals. As the hearing began, two men disguised as lawyers entered the courtroom, but they weren't there for a legal discussion.
Jitender Man Gogi, often referred to simply as Gogi, was a name that struck fear in the hearts of many.
They were members of a rival gang, and they had come with a deadly plan. Just as Gogi settled in, the two fake lawyers pulled out guns and opened fire on him in front of a stunned audience. Shots rang out, echoing through the courthouse halls. The courtroom, usually a place of security, was suddenly filled with panic. Police officers present at the scene quickly returned fire, killing the two attackers on the spot. But by then, the damage was done. Gogi was dead, taken down in a brazen attack that shocked the nation. The incident led to major concerns about security in Indian courtrooms and brought to light the extreme lengths rival gangs would go to settle scores. For the courtroom attendees, it was a day they'd never forget, a stark reminder that even places meant for law and order can sometimes become the most dangerous places of all. And that's a wrap on some of the most intense courtroom chaos ever caught on record. But if you think this was wild, wait until you see what happens when corrupt cops go head-to-head with cartel forces and pay the price instantly. Trust me, you don't want to miss the twists and turns in corrupt cops who got instant payback for messing with cartels. Click the link and check it out. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
And what did you do next?
I took the knife out and I proceeded to slit his throat.
They're all over social media now. Viral threads about kids who killed, faces frozen in time from yearbook photos and family snapshots. Regular kids on the surface, regular lives, until they weren't. We want the simple explanation, that they were just born with something broken inside them. But dig deeper into their stories, and you'll find dark basements, silent dinners, and nighttime terrors that most of us can't imagine. Maybe the real question isn't whether evil is born or made. Maybe it's about what happens when a child's world becomes unbearable, one quiet day at a time.
Are people afraid of you, Beth? Who's afraid of you, Beth?
John.
Your brother. And why is your brother afraid of you?
Because I hurt him so much.
At 6 years old, Beth was torturing her brother and showing zero remorse about it. She was under 2 years old when she was adopted by the Tennant family, along with her little brother John. Slowly, they began unraveling the horrors these two had been through.
From several sources, we discovered that they didn't have enough food to eat.
Beth and John's mother died when Beth was 1. Tragically, their father was a monster.
Tell me about your birth father. What was that nightmare like?
When he touched my penis
Okay.
until it bled, hurt it a lot until it bled.
Poor Beth did not have the words to explain her shocking trauma to her family. Instead, she began acting it out early on, and most of her anger would pour over her brother, the only one more vulnerable and defenseless than her.
And what would you do to him, Beth? Okay. What would you stab him with?
A knife.
Beth tried to unalive John several times, while their desperate parents couldn't understand why. Then, she began stealing her mother's kitchen knives. Her plan was even more sinister.
I got them from the dishwasher.
What kind of knives?
Big sharp ones.
And what do you want to do with those knives?
Kill John and Mommy with them, and Daddy.
Tim and Julie Tennant were now terrified of their 6-year-old daughter. They kept her locked inside her room every night. That's when they called for specialized help, and psychiatrist Dr. Ken Magid began discovering the full extent of Beth's trauma. She was diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder, or RAD. Children with RAD have been through extreme abuse and are unable to show or receive love and affection. They also don't have a conscience. In other words, they can't tell right from wrong, and they have no problem with hurting someone.
What does he say?
Stop.
Okay, tell me that.
Well, he says stop, but I don't stop.
Do you hurt him?
A lot.
Beth would even essay her little brother, just like her dad had done to her. In her mind, she was getting her revenge. Beth's therapist and family introduced her to a strict set of rules meant to teach her a sense of right and wrong. They also worked to help her trust people and see herself as worthy of love. Within months, she loved animals, and within a year, she was well enough to attend school.
That's Elijah.
Yeah, it's a beard. See his beard. There's his nose, and that's his...
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Beth also began to understand her anger.
Do you know where that anger came from?
Because when my birth dad, hurt me, I had it all inside, and I remembered it, and I started doing it.
In 2010, an adult Beth published her memoir. She has since become a nurse, dedicating her life to helping people and advocating for children diagnosed with RAD. 15-year-old Zachary Davis shocked everyone, from detectives to Dr. Phil. His eerie robotic voice and calm explanation of his motive were straight out of nightmares.
Did you kill your mother?
Yeah.
And why did you kill her?
She wasn't taking care of my family.
One night, Zachary unalived his mother with a sledgehammer, then set his house on fire, attempting to unalive his older brother too.
I could just hear the hammer hitting her head.
And what did it sound like?
There was this wet, thumping sound.
He was shortly caught as his brother Joshua called 911. During the interrogation, he insisted he was pure evil, and he enjoyed taking his mother's life.
I killed my mom in her sleep with a sledgehammer. Is there a reason why you did that?
Yeah, sure.
Well, can you tell me why?
Yeah, sure.
His only regret was not taking Joshua out too.
I killed Joshua with a sledgehammer, too.
This was as shocking as it was simply odd. Detectives soon learned that Zachary had no friends, except for his mother and brother. They were close. Messages with heart emojis between them were revealed, and Joshua described how they'd spend hours together, talking and gaming. What on earth would make Zachary do this? As it turns out, when he was 9, Zach lost his father. That year, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and depressive disorder. This is an extremely rare diagnosis for a 9-year-old. Compared to Joshua, or even their mom, Melanie, Zach was taking this very hard. He retreated into a world of his own and refused to make friends outside his home. A few years later, these three moved to a different county, but Zachary's behavior only degraded.
Do you hear voices, Zach?
Yes.
Can you tell the judge? Do you recognize that voice?
It's the voice of my father.
However, during the interrogation, Zach denied that losing his father affected him.
I understand that your father had passed away.
Yes, sir.
How did he pass away?
He died from Garrett's disease.
Pretty rough on you, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
It didn't bother you?
Yes, sir.
He also enjoyed being called evil.
I'm not picking on you, I'm just... It looks kind of evil when you do that, I'm gonna have to say. I think you know you're doing it. And you're smiling about it, so I think you're pretty aware of what you're doing.
No, I didn't realize I was doing it.
Yeah, you did.
Zachary then made several conflicting statements about his motive, that his mother wasn't taking care of them, that Joshua was in fact the killer, and he was just protecting him. His conflicting statements also meant the psychiatrists couldn't agree on a diagnosis. This worked against him. He was sentenced to life in prison with parole after 71 years.
You know they found this girl, right?
Where?
In our neighborhood. Down our main street.
Is she good?
No, she's dead.
14-year-old Aiden Fucci was toying with detectives here. He knew his 13-year-old classmate Tristan Bailey was dead. He had taken her life the day before. Aiden had been talking about unaliving people for years now, but none of his peers took him seriously. Few teenagers did.
He had said he said his knife, he wanted to slit somebody's throat, and he said it'd be satisfying.
In May 2021, Tristan was found in the forest around her neighborhood with 114 wounds. Shortly after, Aiden was spotted with her on CCTV footage. He was brought to the station for questioning, along with his worried parents.
It's all on you right now.
What is my problem?
You were the last one
seen with her.
Aiden had the same cocky, defiant attitude toward the detectives too. He claimed that he saw Tristan hang out with a dealer in his 20s, but he couldn't name this person, and none of his friends backed up this claim. While he was at the station, someone sent authorities an email with an attachment. It was a Snapchat screenshot showing Aiden in the patrol car, with the caption, "Hey guys, has anybody seen Tristan lately?" Aiden made more posts that day. He was happy to be under the spotlight after his arrest.
Having fun in a f***ing cop car.
Yep. Tristan.
What's up, guys?
Yep.
Tristan, if you f***ing walk out the damn...
When you see this in a month...
Aiden spoke to Tristan as if she was alive and got him wrongfully arrested by running away from home. It's sickening. Then, Aiden claimed Tristan started it all by pushing him while they were walking through their local woods.
Did she really grab you and you just really pushed her, or was that...
No, she did.
Okay.
You don't know what happened to her after you pushed her?
Did she say ow or get mad?
She said Aiden. She was like, Aiden.
The truth is, the detectives didn't need his confession. The crime scene was filled with his DNA, and his blood-soaked clothes were still at home. Aiden's mother was also arrested for trying to clean his clothes. Parenting of the year right there. In September 2021, Aiden appeared distraught during his Zoom pre-trial hearing.
Why am I here? I just want to talk to my mom and dad. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? I don't want you demons. I don't want you demons take my soul. You demons want to take my soul away. I don't want you demons steal my soul.
But Aiden had no prior mental health history and had shown no such signs of psychosis before. So experts believe this psychopath was trying for an insanity plea. It's a quick and easy way to get out of life in prison. The moment a judge declared he was fit to stand trial, the demon episodes miraculously disappeared. He showed no emotion and never offered an apology to Tristan's Daly. He was sentenced to life with parole after 25 years because of his young age at the time of the incident. Maybe Aiden Fucci is one of those cases where nothing could have been done to stop him. His sociopathic urges were so strong that no one could have prevented his sick desires. Still, I can only wonder what if one of his teenage friends had alerted someone sooner about his plan to take a life.
After I did that, he asked me not to kill him. So I told him, okay, I'm not going to if you cooperate.
Okay.
Which was a lie.
Just like Zachary Davis, Mike Hernandez dreamt of becoming a serial killer. Aged 14, he would spend all his free time Googling the most infamous killers and planning his MO. One day, he decided to begin his evil plan at his school, Southwold Middle School in Palmetto Bay, Florida. On February 3rd, 2004, Mike armed himself with a knife, a pair of gloves, and an oversized jacket before heading to school. He had a victim in mind, a small boy that would be easy to overpower. But his plans fell when the teenager declined his offer to look at something in the boy's bathroom. The teen later told detectives he felt something was off when Mike asked him to go into the bathroom. So Mike invited his friend and fellow classmate Jamie Guff to look at something in the boy's bathroom. Heartbreakingly, Jamie said okay. Just like his first intended prey, Jamie was small enough for Mike to outmaneuver. This was the only reason he was chosen from the crowd. Jamie stepped into the boy's bathroom only to be to death. Mike's plans were all laid out in his diary, which was later found by authorities. He carried out his plan to the last word, including to sit Jamie's lifeless body on the toilet. He didn't just want to take lives. He wanted to insult and mock them for being foolish enough to fall into his trap. What's worse, Jamie considered Mike one of his best friends. His devastated parents would reveal this to detectives. Mike Hernandez thought of Jamie as the first of many. However, he did not realize he would get caught that day. When another student saw red marks all over the bathroom floor, he alerted security. The security guard accused him of playing a prank and sent him to class. Thankfully, the boy insisted and returned there with a classmate to investigate. It's hard to imagine, though, what these poor 14-year-olds felt as they discovered Jamie's body. Mike was soon found with blood on his shirt and a strange look on his face. He told several conflicting stories, claiming Jamie had a nosebleed and that he'd taken him to the bathroom, thus getting blood on his shirt. When the officers realized Mike was not telling the truth, they took him to the station for questioning. When the detective asked Mike who he hung out at school, he gave a heartbreaking answer.
Most of the time it'd be with Jamie Goff, Andre Martin, and myself.
Michael callously described how he planned the murder with equipment eventually found in his backpack. He also confessed to loving serial killers and any movies or books about them, but he was disappointed he couldn't become a serial killer.
What was your plan? How were you going to accomplish this?
I was going to get him into a stall, the last stall because it's the biggest, so I'd have more room.
It was chilling to see Mike describe his actions so calmly, without an ounce of remorse in his voice.
Was he facing you or was he away from you?
He was away from me.
And what did you do next?
I took the knife out and I proceeded to his throat.
This move did not prove fatal. Shocked and scared, Jamie turned around, pleading for his life.
Then I turned him around again and proceeded to stab him.
And where did you stab him, Mike?
I'm not positively sure, but I'm guessing around the jugular vein, right around here.
During his trial, his obsession with serial killers was revealed. His diaries, his internet history, and his watch list all said the same thing. This was Michael's only passion. American Psycho and Silence of the Lambs were among his favorite movies. Still, it remains a mystery what prompted Michael to become a monster. 2 psychiatrists evaluated him before the trial and concluded he did not suffer from a mental illness. This is Alyssa Bustamante. When she was a young kid, her dad went to prison, and her mom was addicted to a long list of substances, most of which were illegal. In October 2009, 9-year-old Elizabeth Olton disappeared from outside her Missouri home. Her desperate mom remembered one crucial detail. Her 6-year-old neighbor Emma had invited her to play out. Emma was Alyssa's sister, but now they had good enough reason for a search warrant. This is what they found in Alyssa's room, and then the detectives saw her diary. The last entry was scribbled out, except for the last sentence, which read, "Now I have to go to church, LOL." When Alyssa was interrogated, she came up with several fake stories.
I went back to the house, and my grandpa gave me a ride to school. So I went to school.
Okay.
And I was there all day, just walking around in the forest for a while. And I was supposed to take my little sister with me, but I ditched her because she's annoying.
Okay.
But the detectives didn't even need a full confession from Alyssa. Within a few days, the forensic team uncovered her scribbled-out diary entry. It was shocking. I just f***ing killed someone. I strangled them and slit their throat and stabbed them, now they're dead. I don't know how to feel ATM. It was amazing. As soon as you get over the oh my god I can't do this feeling, it's pretty enjoyable. I'm kinda nervous and shaky though right now. Kay, I gotta go to church now. LOL. She was joking and feeling great about unaliving a 9-year-old after using her little sister to lure her to the woods.
How many times did you stab her?
2.
2.
I think.
When she was asked why she did it, Alyssa said she just wanted to know what it was like to take a life.
I just wonder what it would be like just to kill someone. See the life just drain out of someone. I wonder what it would feel like, that type of power, to take that away from someone.
It's honestly infuriating how many teens refuse to take their evil friend's words seriously. That's a really messed up thing to say. If someone says this around you, please speak to someone about it. Alyssa's crime was so heinous and her motive was so evil that she was sentenced to life in prison despite her young age. However, she has become eligible for parole as of 2024, and many netizens are wondering if they should live in fear now. Maybe she's changed for the better. Just like Beth Thomas learned about her trauma and understood how to control her anger, perhaps Alyssa can too. Hey, thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on these disturbing cases, and do you know any similar ones? Leave a comment down below and don't forget to like and subscribe.